Welcome to the Intercut Podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he's rich, like crazy rich. It's Arturo Zurita!
Bro, you told me you're gonna go for the other one. Maybe you're saving it for the outro. But yeah, dude, a big weekend if you were an Asian American or just Asian in general. Had you at the movies, had you at Netflix, all over the place. So it's a big week for that, representation and all that. And joining us today is someone who's got a little movie coming out as well. You know, everyone always says there's not enough female filmmakers out there. We don't push enough female filmmakers out there, but I am glad to know a female filmmaker myself, and her name is Nicole. She's got a YouTube channel. She's got a couple of videos out there. She's got actually 2 YouTube channels, one with the shorts, another one where she's been making video essays. I believe you call it Bauer Power, right?
I do.
Bauer Power.
Yeah.
And then she's got another short film that she's working on that she'll be pitching to you guys as well. The crowdsourcing is about to start in a couple of days or weeks, called As We Go. Nicole Bauer, everyone!
Yay! Smattering
Super
of applause.
applause,
Thank you.
Thanks
I like that
for
you.
joining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem. I like that you segue from, hey, if you were Asian American, you had a big weekend. By the way,
representation.
here's Nicole.
By the way, here's the Nicole. That's the way that we do it. Black Panther, here is my Jewish friend Zach.
Representation the only way we know how. In a little bit, we're going to talk about Netflix ads as well as movies that might be missing from the internet. But first, we're going to start the podcast. We start every week, the way we start every week, with what we've been watching. Art, what you been watching?
Well, I saw Crazy Rich Asians. I saw To All the Boys I Used to Love, which is on Netflix, and I absolutely loved that one. I thought that was really good. I finished Insatiable. I don't know if we talked about this last week, did we?
Yeah, you hadn't finished it yet. And,
you hadn't finished it yet.
You're calling it kind of trash.
I was calling it kind of trash. The ending is another genre.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the ending? Nicole, have you seen it?
I haven't. No.
Have you heard about it?
Just now.
Okay, so Insatiable is this show about it's a 12-episode thing on Netflix. Alyssa Milano produced it, and it's pretty much I forget her name. I know her from the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, or Sweet Life on Deck. She has a fat suit on because she gets bullied for being Fatty Patty.
No.
Loses all the weight and then becomes like this really big bully. It's half based off of a true story, bro, with lines like, "Wow, I really love him. Yeah, but he's a child molester. That means I have a chance." to oh yeah, to lines like,
That's it. I'm
"You're
done.
Asian.
I'm leaving.
Yeah, you're Asian. What are you doing?" "I'm not Asian. I'm adopted."
That reminds
The
me of that
ending.
Vine. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
lesbian. Lesbian. I
That's-
thought you were American.
Bro, it's like it's literally a bunch of stuff like that, and the ending somehow topped it all off. I'm not gonna spoil it here. Probably I'm making after watching that much. I'm gonna make a video on it, but it is the weirdest thing. There's a message in there between all of the trashiness. There is a message in there. That's what I've been watching. And I've been trying to wash it out of my brain. So I saw the Conjuring series.
Wait. I can't tell whether or not you liked the way that it ended. Is it just more of the same? Because, or does it redeem itself a little bit? Like, what's going on?
So you know, like how some people like horror movies, as in like I was gonna say the caterpillar one, the human centipede one,
Yeah.
The kid.
because of how crazy it is. It's like, wow, that was terrible. I can't wait to show this to other people. It's like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
So-
I'm surprised they have the balls to do it.
Okay, so it stays trashy.
Oh, it gets trashier.
Good to know.
It's a yes, 100%. Everyone watch it. Go to your local Netflix and check it out if you can. Yeah, no, it's a weird show. It is one of the weirdest shows I've ever seen.
Cool.
But that's what I've been watching.
Yeah. Nicole, what have you been watching?
As the most recent movie I've seen was The Meg, which
Oh,
please, this is my vote goes to this for Picture of the Year.
most
popular film.
Yeah,
when
most
I
popular.
first found it, I thought I had stumbled upon this like little B grade movie that like no one was gonna know about. I found out it was about a shark, and I saw like one of the very first teasers for it. I didn't even know who was in it. I was like, all right, cool. I found like a kind of a crappy little B-grade horror movie that like me and 5 other people will see, and it's been selling out theaters
Yep.
consistently for
big
like
movie.
what, a week or two now.
Yeah.
It's my new favorite thing. I saw it the day it came out.
And you liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I have
How
my
do you
complaints about it, and like certain things could have been done better, but I was able to identify those things, and I can kind of forgive it, take it for what it is situation.
How do you feel it stacks up against the great tradition of sharks in cinema, dating back to Jaws and Steven Spielberg?
And 47
well.
meters down, Shallows, all the new ones.
See, I have a fear of deep water, so watching those is always just hard for me. I can't even watch the Titanic. So, I mean, nothing's ever going to compare to Jaws. I'm a big fan of Steven Spielberg, if only because of Jurassic Park.
She likes Jurassic Park a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I am wearing the T-shirt. I do have the shirt on. I have all the pop figures as well, if you were wondering.
Turns into a 30-minute just like, and over here in this hallway we have
And
another
here's-
closet. She's got like a damn
collector's
Indominus
edition.
Rex, yeah. But
It's actually coming back to theaters as a Fathom event.
bro, I saw
the
that
25,
people
yeah.
need to. If you have not seen Jurassic Park in IMAX when they re-release it, it is 100% worth it.
Absolutely. The 3D was like okay back in the day, but it's definitely worth seeing on the big screen. But with the Meg, I don't think it, I think it stacks up to other movies that are kind of, I would put in the same genre, such as like, The Shallows, or maybe like more of the Sci-Fi Channel movies, because that's what it
Sharknado.
reminded me of, like Piranhas 3D or something.
Right.
Yeah, it stacks up against those. It's probably the best out of those. But if you have a list of like best shark movies, like 1 through 100 or whatever, at the top of that list as an asterisk, like never gonna change, is Jaws.
Right.
So, the Meg's
Pretty
somewhere on
fair.
there for me.
Cool. So the Meg, the big movie at the box office this weekend, gets the thumbs up from Nicole. As for
Two of them.
Two of them. As for what I've been watching, Insecure came back on HBO.
Oh, damn, that's right, it did.
Yeah, it's back for a 3rd season. Issa's driving Lyft, trying to turn her car into the party Lyft and stuff. I've found the show to be consistently delightful. I went back through the whole 2nd season to prepare for this season, and it's interesting to chart Issa Rae's growth. She's one of the people who grew out of YouTube and went into the mainstream, and kind of the way that she's seamlessly turned her brand from awkward to cool and sexy without really changing. It's strange to me because when I found out Awkward Black Girl is getting a series on HBO, I wasn't expecting it to be like one of the most sex-driven shows on TV.
Yeah.
Not in like a gross way or anything. Just it's about relationships. It's about people figuring themselves out, and I think it does it in kind of like a really engaging, honest way that's fun to see. I really enjoy her perspective on modern dating, her general appeal. Like, it's just a consistently charming show and it's set in a universe where everybody's really attractive, and it's a fun world to live in. I'm enjoying her navigate the treacherous of single life.
Now, which one did you like more, season 1 or season 2?
So the show, I think, becomes a little bit more fun in season 2. It's season 1. She's dealing a lot more with, like, should I be in this relationship? And there's a lingering question of, is a secret going to be revealed? And then season 2 is much more of just a fun dating in LA show.
Yeah, they're going to like expos, and there's the
Exactly.
eye episode, and I really liked the ending of season 2. Like, that was one of the best finales on TV. With it being an HBO show and stuff too.
Yeah, the 30 days conceit was really cool
Yeah.
in that season 2 finale. So yeah, season 3 is back. There's been 2 episodes as of this podcast recording, so I'm really enjoying it. Let me know if you've been watching Insecure in the comments down below. Let me know whatever you've been watching in the comments down below. We should move on to Yay or Nay, where we break down the latest happenings in the entertainment industry. Starting with, if you binged a show on Netflix this weekend, your viewing experience may have been a bit less seamless than usual. The streaming service began testing the placement of ads between episodes while users binge content. For example, viewers who want to catch up on the first season of Big Mouth might get an ad for the new show Disenchantment between episodes of your binge. Art, yay or nay, ads, even small ones, will ruin Netflix.
They're not putting it in. They're not pulling a Hulu where it's in the episode, right?
No, it's not in the episode. It's still between episodes.
And it's just ads for Netflix stuff?
That's what it seems like.
I'm not as against it as other people are.
Mm-hmm.
I had, like, you remember that outrage that happened when people are like, I can't scroll Netflix without the autoplay? It's annoying.
Yeah.
That I wasn't like furious, right?
Right.
To me,
you your TV.
Yeah, I was yeah, exactly. I would just scroll, or I would be a game and be like, you're not gonna get me this time, and I would just scroll past it. Hulu though, I have not caught up on Handmaid's Tale, Rick and Morty, because I cannot stand 4 ads in an episode. But I also don't want to pay the extra $4.
Right.
So it's like, if that's Netflix's thing to see, especially when it's just going to be Netflix shows, the same ad over and over and over and over and over again, right? If there's not even going to be a variety of ads, then that might get a little annoying. I'm not as opposed to it as other people are. So as long as they're limiting it to like once in a while for like the end of the episode, I guess what it's trying to do is kind of get it into the minds of people. The way that I can see it as being a positive thing is whenever we were talking about Mudbound or other movies that make it onto the streaming service, that then get buried, remember? Like Cloverfield, that got enough. That got real commercials.
Right. There is that thing that happens with a lot of indie features, particularly on Netflix, where the amount of content on Netflix is so great that it just becomes hard to find the stuff that's not already huge. And this potentially is another pathway to get people's eyes on other content.
Exactly. That's how I feel about it.
Nicole, any thoughts?
I don't think it's that big of a deal, especially if it's only, between episodes, only Netflix content. Because I actually saw an ad for Disenchantment, and I'm like, you know what? That looks like something I might watch. And, I might not have heard about it until 6 months later. I also don't usually watch the newest, most popular shows on, like, a platform like Netflix. Like, I'm a big fan of Last Chance U. And that's it.
It's been there.
Yeah, and they've got the new season out. Season 3's out. It's a whole new school, new coach, and all that. It's still probably one of their more popular shows, but I don't know if it's as popular as Big Mouth or 13 Reasons Why or something like that.
Right.
It could be used for good.
Exactly. Like I think Netflix has enough interesting content that hopefully it's just a way to be shown a little bit more of it and to help you guide through the network. I know I'm one of the people who sometimes feels like, it's hard to find something on Netflix.
No, it really is, dude. When I was trying to watch Insatiable, which I didn't even want to watch to begin with, I had to scroll all the way to the end of the new releases. I'm like, this is the biggest thing you got out right now. This is the only one trending on Twitter.
Right. So, I mean, anything that would potentially help making guide Netflix a bit easier sounds good to me. I'm just hoping that it's not a situation where we're going to be stuck watching like 2-minute ads that you can't back out of or whatever. I've accidentally autoplayed the Hemlock Grove ad enough times that it's still burned into my brain. But yeah, it's still within the service. It's not interrupting the episodes. I don't have a problem with that.
There's a skip version, especially, and we've talked about this before, Scorsese's got a movie coming out. I just found out the other day Roma's going to Netflix.
Yeah. Well, see, and and that's the other thing is we'll start to get filmmakers who are negotiating whether or not they can Netflix can show ads, right?
Dude.
I forget who it was, but some filmmaker negotiate. I think it might have even been Noah Baumbach who said, like, you can show my movie, but you have to let the credits play without the watch this thing next coming up. So.
Dude, and I remember Xavier Dolan said the same thing. Yo, Mommy's on Netflix. You guys better not overcrop my thing. But Cuarón's movie's coming. Alfonso Cuarón's movie, Roma. I did not know that was a Netflix thing. Scorsese's movies going to Netflix. Jeremy's Green Room director, Jeremy
Saulnier.
His is going to Netflix, and there was another director I just found out today. His movie's going straight to Netflix, and I was like, Hell or High Water director, his next movie straight to. These are like guys who just got Oscars, and they're going straight to Netflix.
Yeah,
so.
Netflix is making a lot of big plays.
We'll see.
Timur Bekmambetov, I had to try a couple times to I pronounced that name correctly, has made films like Night Watch and the ill-fated Ben-Hur remake from 2016, but he's also a producer behind the most recent Unfriended and Art's favorite upcoming film, Searching.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Following those experiences, the filmmaker is developing a technology called Screenlife in the hopes of making it easier for filmmakers to capture on-screen narratives. And currently, Timur is producing 14 movies taking place across a variety of genres that all take place entirely on a computer screen. Nicole, yay or nay, this on-screen narrative movie trend is more than just a trend?
I'm gonna say nay, dog. It is only a trend. In the same way that, like the Paranormal Activity.
Found footage?
Found footage, that's what it is. How that was a trend. And it's not its own genre either. And I believe I heard Mark Duplass, I think it was, make that argument of it's not a genre, it's a technique.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with.
Yeah, for me, I think the on-screen thing is a little impersonal, and it creates a separation between the characters that we're watching, because I'd rather see, if you're watching two people have a conversation, you have the shot, reverse shot, and you're essentially seeing it from the other's perspective, which makes sense if these people are interacting on a computer screen, but there's also the whole idea of people act differently on the internet than they do in real life, and you essentially feel anonymous, and in real life you have that, you feel like you're anonymous to everybody else, so it kind of, for me, brings that into the movie. There's that separation, which maybe that's what they're going for, but to me it creates, it's a little impersonal.
I think like with 8th grade didn't fully do it, but I think that since we spend so much time already on our phones or whatever else, I can get how it's impersonal, but at the same time, it depends on the director. Like you said, it's a technique. It's not a genre.
Yeah.
So some people are going to use the technique, and it's going to be complete crap, right? Some people do shoot movies shot reverse shot. It's terrible. You're like, what am I looking at? True. So I think depending on what the story goes for, right? Like one of the reasons I love Searching is because it really takes into account the fact of all the information that a family puts on their first computer, and how they upgrade, and how some information is lost, and how sometimes that all the communication just happens. It's documented, right? Our phones, all this stuff, it documents stuff, and that becomes a big part in Searching, about how he looks back at the conversations he had with his family members. I was spoiling too much. And I think when it's used like that, it could be very interesting because, again, a lot of what we're doing right now is on the computer. All of our conversations between Zach and I happen through the computer because he lives in New York. So I think it could be done well, but I agree with you. It's going to become another found footage thing. I've been seeing that for the longest time, and I adore found footage movies, and I really like when people are able to do whatever the name for this is going to be, on-screen capture. We're going to get a bunch of trash ones.
I think it's a sign of the times, too. I mean, I agree with you, and, we're all always on the computer and always on our phones. Yep. So, of course, integrate that into the movies. But I do think Searching will probably be one of the best movies to do it.
Yeah, I think increasingly modern life is lived through a screen, and we find out information through it, and we talk to people through it. So I think that moments in movies that happen on a computer screen will happen increasingly, but I don't think it's going to be a bunch of Unfriendeds and Searchings that take place entirely on a movie screen. That movie with Amy Poehler and Will Ferrell, The House, I think they have a moment where they're like looking up whether or not their daughter got into college on a computer, and that's just a scene. I feel like as we progress, there'll be more movies that have just a scene that takes place on a computer. and they'll integrate it into the larger perspective because, you know, while we do live a lot of our lives on the computer, we don't live all of our lives on the computer. And I think what'll be interesting is to see when people start to just implement this as a big part of a movie without making it like a big technique of the entire experience, the way that Searching and Unfriended intentionally limit themselves to a computer screen, right?
You know, I will also say that I think the movie, oh my gosh, what year did it come out in? Probably like 2006, 2007. Never Back Down with Cam Gigande and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Yeah, Digimon. I would call him Digimon.
Why?
The actor you just said, I always see his name as Digimon. I'm looking at the movie right now. I adore that movie.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He was in, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
The trainer, yeah.
But they had a sequence where his name's Jake in the movie, and because it's an MMA movie, I always want to call him Jake Shields. But when Jake gets beat up at the party, and then he has to go to school and deal with everybody sharing it and, you know, seeing it online, they had a good sequence of like showing phone screens and then it's going all around the school and him like kind of literally following him through the school. But what I like about that is they had some screen images, I believe, but they also did like over the shoulder shots of
like
him
looking at it,
so you can see like in the environment. Yeah.
Have either of you seen Noah, the short film? This is something that premiered at the Toronto Film Festival, I want to say 4 years ago. And what I found interesting about it in comparison to most on-screen narrative movies, whereas I think a lot of the stuff that I've seen is kind of horror or thriller, this is much more personal. It's a kind of dramedy of sorts. It gives you a look at this teenager's life. I found it very beautiful and emotional, so it's online and worth checking out, and it makes me think that it'll be interesting to check out what some filmmakers do when they expand the genres that we expect from this technique.
Yeah, that's what happened with the found footage ones. They were all horrors.
And then we got like Chronicle and stuff.
Yep.
For all the movies available to us through streaming platforms, there's a large list of movies that are simply unavailable to download or rent through any major streaming service. Screenwriter and co-host of the Script Notes podcast, John August, noted this in a recent blog post on his website, and so he decided to start crowdsourcing a document called Missing Movies in the hopes of pushing distributors of these films to find an online home. August, who is also a member of the Motion Picture Academy, says that he hopes this is an issue that the Oscars, which do concern themselves with film preservation, will look into as well. Art, yay or nay, the internet is still missing too many older movies.
I always thought that was the Criterion's job. They do wizardy magic over there. You ever seen how they fix films? I don't even know how they do that. Like, if you threw out your trash and there was a Criterion person who picked it up, they'd be able to connect everything, all of your information, the way they put this stuff together. It's like those people from Argo.
Right.
Like, they take the time to like get every single
exactly,
and they put it back together and it's like brand new. I think, yeah, I don't get why we don't already have everything documented in like one place, but it's even going to come down to that, rights of some movies, right? Mubi is a thing that has rights to some specific movies out there, and
very obscure movies.
Very obscure movies.
For the most part.
And what's it called? Who's the other one that has it? Filmstruck. Filmstruck.
They are the one that are teamed up with Criterion.
Yeah. But then Hulu, Netflix. There's a bunch of other. Sundance Now has their own, in where they all want to stream their own things, and I think we're also getting to a point where it's like physical CDs are diminishing. Best Buy doesn't even sell them anymore, was the news, and you get to a point where it's just like, okay, sure, the movies need to come back, but does that mean they're still going to be accessible if you need to have like 20 different services?
Right.
To get them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. Sometimes it's beyond, like, is it not on my service? It could be, like, not on any service. There are still some movies that fall through the cracks. I think he was talking about The Flamingo Kid or something like that. And it's, when you talk about Criterion, they primarily deal in classics, or at least their definition of classics.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that the other movies aren't worth preserving as well.
That's true.
So it'll be interesting to see like where some of these movies end up ultimately finding homes, because we have copyright laws, and the further and further you get into the 20th century, the harder and harder it is to navigate some of those copyright laws. So even as we progress into the 21st century, there's going to be a lot of stuff that feels like it should be out in the open that like won't be in the public domain and won't be accessible. I'm always surprised that Netflix doesn't put more just public domain stuff, like some old some old silent films and stuff like that.
Birth of a Nation
service, just as a way of like providing us as a service.
That is true.
Like
If it can, yeah, why doesn't it?
Right. Like if I knew Netflix had all that, I'd feel a little bit better about spending my money on it, knowing that I can go watch old black and white films, although that's not their purview.
Yeah.
Nicole, any thoughts on the missing movies of the internet?
I think I kind of agree with Arturo on this one. Because of copyrights and all that, you would have to have 1,000,001 services to access all of them. But I do like the idea of Netflix having that as kind of like a subcategory, they could even call it. That way, people who are super into those, that's just more people you're drawing into your service. Yeah. But also, I mean, what if I want to watch The Maltese Falcon? I still haven't seen that. So.
You out of luck.
Yep, can't find it. Gotta find it.
Yeah.
Where's my Blu-ray steelbook of The Trip to the Moon? Or the what's the one with the eye?
Yeah,
the
Actually,
whatever.
A Trip to the Moon was on Netflix.
Yeah, see, exactly. They had it at
and
one
I don't
point.
know why they got rid of it.
Because A Trip to the Moon is something else.
Yeah, streaming rights is just too much.
Yeah, it wasn't even the original, like A Trip to the Moon. It was some 1990 something remaster recolored, and it was set to it was set to music. It was instrumental. Almost like a lo-fi chill beats to study to type mix.
Lo-fi hip-hop. Oh.
All right, we're going to get to the rough cuts where we get into shorter news stories before we move on. FindMargot.com is the
Let's
first one.
Go!
We're mentioning ARC's beloved Searching for a second time this show. Because Screen Gems and Sony released an interesting website in conjunction with the film. If users on their mobile phones go to findmargot.com, they'll be given access to the Margot character's cell phone in order to look for clues connected with her disappearance. Art, you've already seen the movie, but Nicole, I don't know if you have. So let me ask you, does this type of viral marketing make you more intrigued about a movie like Searching?
Yeah, you know what, it does. Although it kind of goes against me saying the whole I don't like on-screen stuff. It's kind of in the same vein. But I think I'd be more likely to check it out even just to see how it plays out on my phone. Or like, hey, what happens if I try to access it through my desktop? Does it run the same?
No, it doesn't even run at all.
No?
Yeah, we tried it. Trust me.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd be more likely to try it out just to see how it runs. Although I'd have to constrain myself because I feel like I would almost spoil it for myself. I'd get too into it. Yeah.
I'm not going to go on, I think, unless Art tells me to, until after I see Searching. Because I don't want it to ruin any of the experience for me.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool. I highly recommend it. It really doesn't spoil anything. At a certain point, it's actually kind of dumb. The phone gets a notification for the Searching trailer, so it's not like it's fully there. Yeah, it don't make no damn sense. But anyways, it is cool.
It'd be cool. I hope more movies or studios experiment with this kind of like interactive
ARG, dude, Cloverfield style.
Exactly.
I like it.
Liam Neeson is set to star as a snowplow operator out for revenge when his son is unjustly murdered by a local drug cartel in Hard Powder. Art, yeah or nay, you're ready for the Liam Neeson snowplow revenge movie?
On Netflix, let's go. You sure? I guess, yeah.
Nicole, are you a fan of Liam Neeson takes revenge on people?
or snowplows.
Or snowplows.
Or snowplows. I was a big fan of Mr. Plow and The Simpsons. This is just Mr. Plow Takes a Holiday. You know what? Just because it just sounds... Is this a real thing?
Yeah, so look, I'm going yay on this because this is a remake of a 2014 Norwegian film called In Order of Disappearance. Okay. I got to interview the director of that movie, Hans-Peter Moland, at the Tribeca Film Festival back when it came out. It's a really fun, darkly comic movie starring Stellan Skarsgård, and when I saw it then, absolutely. I thought it would be perfect for a Liam Neeson American remake. I'm glad I'm not the
That's
only
what you
person
thought of?
Yeah. I literally, you can go back and look for my review where I say it is a Norwegian Liam Neeson movie.
I'm into it. I'm ready. I'll
That's
be there
so
opening
specific.
day.
In my
Reserve
snowplow.
seat. Buy my ticket in advance. I'm ready.
I swore I wanted to quit doing MoviePass stories, but I just can't quit you, MoviePass. The ticketing service caused an uproar by resubscribing its former subscribers who requested to cancel their service.
Oh, okay.
This was part of a reveal of their new 3 movies per month plan, along with a new restriction on what movies viewers are allowed to see, despite the fact that the service went down again this past Sunday.
Yeah, it did.
Nicole, yay or nay, MoviePass is doing more harm than good at this point.
Yay. And I definitely need to double check that because I super canceled my subscription and I need to make sure they didn't renew that on me. Yeah. I canceled it. I think it's over already. It should be over by now, assuming they didn't resubscribe me. Yeah, no. People, I work at a movie theater, and people come in all the time, and they're like, hey, where's my movie? It's not loading. And they're like, they ask where the Wi-Fi, like, what's your Wi-Fi password?
As if that's going to help.
Yeah, well, they don't think it's loading fully for some reason. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, well, these are only the movies that you can see. And they're like, well, how come I can't see Mission Impossible?
It sounds like
because
a you
it's Mission
problem.
Impossible. Yeah.
Right.
Because you should pay for it.
Yeah.
Support indie cinema. Bro, dude, it sucks. And I still remember I used to talk about MoviePass all the time. And I remember you got it around the time that, you got it this year, right? You got it earlier this year?
Yeah. The first movie we saw when I had it was Early Man. What a disappointment that was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we went to go see Early Man. And at that point, MoviePass was still, like, good. Now, again, I owe MoviePass probably, like, $800, $900, so I don't want to speak ill of it. Even with this service plan, it's still cool to get 3 movies for $9. The only problem is you can't get them. Like, if you wake up in the morning, they will all be there. Then you get to the theater, and it's like, oh, okay, we've already sold too many. And it's like you're playing this gamble where it's like, you got to go through loops just to get your $9 worth.
Yeah, we all are fans of the service that MoviePass provides when it provides it, but that's the thing that's kind of, you know, as a customer of it, it feels disingenuous to be told, yeah, you're going to get access to these movies, and then they just don't show up. Like, I was thinking I would use my MoviePass on Crazy Rich Asians because it wasn't available on Friday and Saturday, but they advertised it would be available on Sunday. App doesn't work on Sunday.
Yep.
It's just, you know, I want to stay subscribed to MoviePass. I haven't canceled yet because I believe in the idea of it. I want to support it as long as it'll help me see movies for cheaper. But if it's not helping me see movies, then I don't know.
That's a movie pass. I'm telling you, all right, thank you guys for watching the Intercut podcast. It was really great having you guys on, Nicole. Thank you. No,
finally,
he'll be here all week, guys.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. No, I was just saying AMC A-list. It's a better one.
Wes Anderson is getting to work on his next film, a full-fledged musical set in post-World War II France. Art, yay or nay, you're excited for Wes Anderson to return to live action?
Yes, but someone told me it was World War II, and I feel like he can't mention any Japanese people, or else they will not let him direct something else.
Well, it is set in France, not Asia, so
we'll see.
Hopefully he'll steer clear of that.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, it is going to be post-World War II. I don't know how much I would want a Wes Anderson World War II movie, but it'll be interesting to see.
He can get dark.
Yeah, but he mostly, like, skirts on the edge of dark, not so much.
He's going to kill a dog in the movie, I can guarantee you that. That's what he does. That's his constant right there. Killing dogs.
All right, so those are our yay or nay news bits. Let us know what you thought of this week's news in the comments down below. We're going to move on to our topic of the week. And this week's topic is special for the group that we've got assembled. We brought on Nicole who has done some producing of her own, has an upcoming movie, to talk a little bit about producing in an ultra low budget spectrum, in an ultra low budget way. It provides different challenges. It's a different set of problems than the ones that big blockbuster filmmakers face. So I think it'd be interesting to
even indie,
right,
indie films.
Yeah, I like those quotations.
Right,
the definition of indie is not what indie always was, considering you get these $10 to $20 million indie films as well. Indies.
Right?
So
it's wild. Yeah, it went from like blockbusters to indies, and I remember we would be talking either in school or on Saturday. It's like, indies. You know, it's like Chance the Rapper is an independent artist with a $12 million contract from Apple Music.
Right. Like, this is the argument that I was trying to have with people who were calling Birdman an indie. It's like, yeah, maybe technically, but
if you're not giving your platinum, if you're not giving blood, like Robert Rodriguez was, it's not independent. You need to be selling your blood.
Nicole, you are in the midst of producing a short film yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about your project and about some of the challenges in seeking it to get made?
I would love to. Not only am I one of the producers with Arturo and our buddy Akilesh, I also wrote and directed it. I haven't directed it yet.
Well, yeah, not yet, but casting it and all of it.
Yeah.
A true independent.
I guess. So as it's called As We Go, and it's about this character, Kate, who returns home after about a year. It's like her first year away at university, and she's having some trouble at school. She comes back to her hometown where she's grown up her entire life, and she reconnects with her old friend Brian, and they start to realize that their lives are going two completely different ways, and they have to decide whether or not their lives kind of hold a place for each other anymore, while trying to decide what they want to do with their life. It's the whole, you're just out of high school feeling like the whole world's in front of you, how exciting that can be and how terrifying that can be.
Loss of innocence, search for home type of narrative.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so you said you haven't directed it yet. When are you hoping to get into production? And so maybe talk about some of the obstacles between now and then.
We are shooting the first 2 weeks in October.
Very cool.
A total of 8 days over 2 weeks. I'm currently in the process of finalizing the cast. We're doing callbacks in the next week and a half. And then we will have a crowdfunding thing all through the month of September, which will end as we get started in production. I thought one of the more difficult things was going to be getting locations. But I just kind of showed up and I was like, hey, can we film here? They're like, yeah, sure.
That's what I think some of the people are surprised the most with. Like, because I know we get messages all the time. It's like, yo, read our script. Hey, check this out, or check out my movie and things like that. And I think when a lot of people have questions on like how to make something, they don't realize how sometimes it could be as simple as just asking.
That's the thing. That's a big thing, especially at our level of filmmaking. The answer is always no if you don't ask. The whole you miss 100% of the shots you don't take kind of idea. One of the locations is the outside and the inside of Kate's house, and we were like, this idea probably isn't going to work, but we're going to try it anyway. I wrote a letter. It was like, dear homeowner, I'm a film student at blah 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 school, and I'm interested in using the exterior of your house for my movie. And me and a buddy walked around and put them in people's mailboxes of houses that looked fit the aesthetic of what I was going for. And people actually got back to us. And now we're using the exterior of this lady's house who ended up, she's a interior designer, so she's absolutely stoked to have her stuff in the movie.
Nice.
I did get an email, though, from someone else who was like, hey, Nicole, I got your letter. I just want to confirm with your professor that this is nothing X-rated.
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah. And I know my professor pretty well, and he was like, I could hear the sarcasm in his reply. He's like, I am the professor.
Right.
This is not gonna happen. Like, don't worry about it. If you have any other questions, contact me. Like, plus we're shooting outside your house. What do you think?
Yeah, because the exterior of it. There's the establishing shots in porn, obviously.
Yes.
Right. You want the plumber outside before he goes inside. Yeah.
I mean, the continuity is what seals the deal for me.
It is weird. I've been in that position once when we were filming something outside. It was like, but by a bunch of factories. Like. You have like a factory drive, and it's just like a bunch of different factories located there. So there's usually nobody out there. And we were filming because it was sort of like a lot, and it was like this little action movie. It was like the first semester that I had of film school, and the whole point was they were supposed to be beating up somebody. And as they're beating him up, just like stomping on the ground, guy comes down and he goes, "Yo, what are you doing?" We all look around, and I like point the camera at him, and I'm like, "Oh, we're shooting a short film. Short film for what? For school." Okay, you do what you gotta do. And then we just proceeded to beat him up. Like, if we were actually killing him, all you have to say is, it's a short film for school.
Absolutely.
It's a student short film.
And that's the thing that a lot of student productions tend to get in trouble for, too. I know something that they stressed a lot at my film school was, if you are using a gun in your movie, contact Philadelphia police. Like, you don't want the police.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
That was something one of our professors told us too, because we actually had a horror story of someone, like their film was people breaking into a house, and they're supposed to be like a SWAT team or robbers or something. They're dressed all in black, spray painted the guns, like spray painted over the orange tip, and they got fucking busted.
Safety first. Some people don't get that as well. Yeah. You get some points.
But that's the thing, one of the obstacles when you're working with these ultra low budgets on your production is you don't have the resources to necessarily close down an entire street or to get a bunch of people to block off areas and to really, really go all out. So that's one of the things that ends up being an obstacle too. Like, I remember for a shoot that I did, we were getting some sound bleed from someone who was having a barbecue a couple blocks over and didn't want to turn down their music. And that's just the kind of thing that you can't really account for, and you then have to deal with, and you kind of just have to be polite about it. I walked over and meekly kind of knocked on the door and said, "Would you please, we're trying to do this thing. We don't have money to pay you." They didn't turn down their music, but I tried.
So he doused it.
Yeah.
He prayed to the Lord, and the Lord came down with a thunderous just rain and took him out. Right. It really just, yeah. I mean, one of the biggest issues I know always comes down to finding your locations, making sure that you have the best thing, and just preparation. I think pre-pro is the biggest thing that a lot of real indie filmmakers forget about. But even when you're on location, that there's always going to be so many mess-ups, so many things that you need to think on your feet. And that's where a lot of people always come in and they want to be a director. And just to keep it straightforward, right? And Nicole and I, we took classes together. We know some people are just not built to be directors. A director, as they always say, needs to be able to take questions 24/7 while you're on set.
It's absolutely a think on your feet, adjust as you go.
That's what it is.
Situation.
So... Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh shit! Sorry, I hit my mic.
Well, I'm thinking back when we were filming People Die, which was our horror short film, and it's like when we were filming at night, we were able to get a private location, but then you have to think on your feet when it comes to you're out in the middle of nowhere, you got no power, so then I got to think about buying a generator. That's money, and the generator runs on gas, more money. Then that generator's going brrrr. So it's like you have
sound
to
bleed.
Holy
and it's
shit.
all these different things that a lot of people don't think about. You good? Things like this where you have to think on your feet in order to be able to make sure that everything's going correctly. But from like all the requests that we always get, right? Pre-production is probably the biggest part of it. I think production is the funnest part of it.
Right. Provided that you've done your pre-pro.
Yeah, because
paperwork is my least favorite thing. But I also get super excited about it because it's filmmaking paperwork. So
Yeah.
I can deal with it. If you,
But
the
no
better
one's like-
your pre-production is, the better your everything
exactly.
else will go.
That's why you want it to go like that. But I think Alfred Hitchcock is like the only one who really loves it that much. I think Alfred Hitchcock is the only one who hates the filming process. He's like, all the fun happens in pre-production because my fantasy is wild. But during production, remember he hated actors. He's
Yeah,
like,
what do you call them? Like human props?
Yeah, he called them human props. He's just like, can they give me what I want?
Well, I mean,
that's a whole nother level.
That's so, you know, for the people who are really unfamiliar, pre-production is what we call the developing of the project, getting
Writing
it all
script,
ready for
getting your crew.
production. When you
When
actually
you're filming.
are there filming it, and then when you're done filming, you have your post-production.
Post-production.
That's the editing. And I've had it explained to me that pre-production is you trying to plan the best, like trying to imagine the best film possible. Production is attempting to execute it, and post-production.
What you got?
And post-production is like picking up the scraps from it and trying to assemble it into something. So there is an element of pre-production being the most limitless, right? Like, that's when you haven't made any mistakes, and you can try and figure out things. And even if you're in a situation where you are a low-budget movie and you have this scene that takes place somewhere where you can't film, it's fun to then be in the mindset, okay, where are we going to move this where it'll capture the same idea, but it's achievable. And that, for me, is one of the things that I find really fun about doing the ultra low budget productions, is that since you don't have the budget to spend to just say, we want a train car, we'll be on a train car. You have to adapt to what resources you have around you, and try to, you know, figure out what's available to you within your means.
It could be beneficial too. Sometimes you never know. A mistake will happen, and it's like, boom, you got one of the best shots in the movie. You didn't even think about it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, when we filmed the whole title is People Die in this movie, and when we filmed People Die, if we hadn't had that fog machine, and it just so happened, like, we were getting a shot of the killer coming up on these people, and we had a light behind him, fog machine between him and the light, and then the subject. And if it just kind of like one of these serendipitous, you know, happenstance kind of things, if it hadn't been just the right amount of windy, never would have gotten that shot.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
sometimes it's just magic.
Yeah, like we actually, speaking of pre-pro, one day we didn't plan on bringing the amount of chairs that the characters needed. It would just so happen that the cast and crew brought them for like the green room hangout area, and we just kind of yanked them, and this is part of the movie now. One of the guys brought tiki torches, and it ended up adding a lot of depth to the shot. And before we continue, I just want to address what that noise was. I have a boom arm for my mic. And
Bro, I thought you had a gong or something. I had no idea what was going on.
Well, I have a boom arm, and the desk I'm currently at isn't the desk I'm usually at. And it has a glass top. And I guess I put it on a little too tight because it just cracked.
Woo!
Oh, no.
Like, one of the corners is just disconnected. The only thing holding it on is the boom arm.
Well, that's a production cost right there, which I think is the perfect segue to one of the things that people need to understand when it comes to independent film. Funding. I think that now that we're at this point in time where, you know, I think back to stories like I had mentioned earlier where you had Robert Rodriguez literally was giving his blood to get money to, what was it?
Kevin Smith was taking out credit cards
and sold his entire comic collection, which, if you know Kevin Smith, that's a lot, right? In order to be able to get funding for this movie, and they didn't even have the resources we have today, you know what I mean? Nowadays we have so many things. You can pick GoFundMe, Seed and Spark, which she'll talk about in a little bit more. What is it? Indiegogo. And then all of the just use PayPal if you want. Just tell people if they trust you enough to send you through PayPal. Patreon. Issa Rae, as we were talking about earlier, she has a Patreon just so she can fund artists that she's seeking out, and truly independent artists who she wants to support. But also just the avenues and being able to upload and reach people. The fact that you can put out a casting call and be able to reach people through Facebook or Twitter or other social media, to be able to update people on what's going on with the project to keep you not only accountable for it, but be able to grow that audience. You know what I mean? It's like nowadays we have YouTubers who have been able to make their own movies. A lot of trash, but because of that, I think of the ones that are bigger, right? I think of the guy who did The Conjuring 2, Lights Out. I mention him all the time. He was posting to YouTube, and he got the attention, right? 10 Cloverfield Lane. That dude did a Portal fan film. Straight to YouTube. Got the attention.
Issa Rae, who you just mentioned.
Issa Rae, Donald Glover, Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham.
It's an avenue where you can now create an audience or make something that reaches the right person, and then boom, you skyrocket. And even if you don't, people, I think of us. We have our own audience here online, the Intercutters. I don't know if that's the name of the stick.
Inner Cuties.
Yeah, sure, the Inner Cuties. We'll see what the comments say about that. Where you can build your own audience
that fandom
and thrive off that.
I support that.
And thrive off that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you don't need millions of people watching. You can actually have your own thing. People have their own podcasts, and they don't have over 100,000, but they're making good money. And people who have their own YouTube channels, their own avenues somewhere else, right? You don't need to be that. I go, even in other avenues. Etsy. They don't own their own fashion thing. But, bro, some people making bank off Etsy.
Yeah, it's about the amount of passion behind those things, right?
Thank you.
If you have 3,000 people willing to chip in $1 a month, that's enough to fund a lot of creative projects. So it's just, does your project have some sort of appeal? Can you find that niche? Can you develop that niche? But trying to do it without funding entirely, it's gonna end up leading to some problems, because ultimately it comes down to things cost money. The equipment we get costs money. Hiring people, if you need to hire people, that costs money.
That'll stay costs money, because one of the biggest things that you always said, we were talking about contracts earlier, if you don't get either friends who believe in you, or you're paying someone who definitely is skilled in what they do, you run through what is the biggest problem. People don't show up.
Yeah.
It's happened to both of our sets.
Yeah.
You get someone showing up like, bro, I completely forgot it was today. What do you...
Yep.
Wait, it's 4 PM. How'd you just wake up? and you always run into that, because unless you got someone on a contract, many times they waver, or you're not getting that energy that you hopefully need. Because, and even sometimes when you pay people, you want to make sure you're working with the people who you trust the most, because I think back to, I want to say it's Denny. If it's not Denny, it's Bradford Young, who always said, I don't work with somebody unless I would have them sit down and have lunch with my family and my wife and my daughters. And I always thought that was the dopest thing in the world. He's like, I'm about to spend months with them. Right? Indies, I would say in indie years, 2 days would probably be like a month in actual filming, because of how much hours you spent. But he would say that, and I'm like, that's a really cool thing, because you're about to spend all these hours and you're going to put trust in everything with these other people. You want to make sure it's someone you trust. And that quote always stuck with me.
On the funding side for us, we are using Seed and Spark. It's different from Kickstarter or Indiegogo. It is specifically for film or TV shows. Also, we need to get whatever your campaign goal is. You have to hit it's either 80 or 85% of it to get anything. But another cool thing about Seed and Spark is that if you make a decent movie, I guess, and they like it, they'll let you stream it on their website, and people with the subscription to Seed and Spark can watch it, or you can pay a couple bucks, I believe, per viewing. If I remember correctly, one of our professors has a movie on Seed and Spark.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's kind of a overall idea of Seed and Spark, I guess. But for our side of it, they let you break down what you need and what you need the money for.
Yeah.
A lot of it goes towards craft, food. I'm not gonna lie, because I think the most people will have on set is 14 for a day. That's the highest possible people we'd have on set. And I mean,
you do the math, right? If it's 14 people
for lunch and dinner,
that's, what is it, $10 per meal is the average that it's supposed to be? So you have to
I believe so, yeah.
that. And then it's also craft, which they usually say for a size around that, it's like $200 worth of craft. Craft being just the snacks that are out there.
Yeah, you need waters.
And you need waters,
Yep.
and you need coffee. That's a damn fact for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially on a film set.
All of that adds up with multiple days. Mm-hmm. And you need food. If you don't have food on a film set,
especially on, you know, this level of filmmaking, if you're
yeah.
not paying people,
Right.
you're gonna have a riot on your hands if you don't feed them, especially, you know, you providing it so they don't have to pay for it themselves. I was on probably my first film set, and it was halfway through the day, and I was starting to feel real, like, kind of sick and just dehydrated, and I had like a little bag of M&Ms, and that just gave me the energy to get through to catering, and you don't think about that until you're working for 12-hour days.
Yeah.
12-hour days on set, not to mention whatever time you woke up and how long it takes you to get to set.
Yeah.
Or if
Maybe
you're a
all
producer or
outside.
director, yeah, you're there longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember with People Die, like one of the biggest things is it also makes them feel special. Like it's not just that of giving them the drive, but I remember I was like, I knew who liked specific energy drinks. Some people like 5 hours, some people like Nas, some people like Red Bull, some people like specific Red Bulls. The blue is the best, by the way. So it's like just bringing that was cool. And I remember learning that from sets like Nicole set and other sets that I had been on. So when I had shot my film on an airplane, which again, all we had to do was ask.
Yeah.
Ask a couple times, but you're surprised you got an airplane. It was asking people, right, if you couldn't pay them, what's your favorite snack? Then they get to set and they see their favorite snack is there, and that literally drives them.
Yeah, it's
Like,
just it's the thought
right?
that counts. That's it.
Exactly.
You
I
took
remember
the
bringing
time
root beer.
to go get me my favorite thing.
Exactly. I remember bringing root beer. I specifically got Barks root beer for our boy John. And then, like, he never even saw it. Like, I think he never drank it, but he saw it, and he's like, oh, that's cool. But he was so busy doing sound for us that I knew the thought of the root beer got
You
it.
guys know what poke bowls are? Like these rice
The candy?
bowls.
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
They're like rice bowls. You can have them with like fruit or different meats, usually raw fish. It's like a sushi kind of thing.
Okay.
I talked to this poke restaurant near one of our shoot locations and convinced them to give us meals for, I think it was $7 per person. So for this one day, we got these like really beautiful rice bowls, and it was very healthy, and everybody got to customize it their way. And that just it picks the energy up. People give better performances. People are happy to be there. You know, you don't. As someone who wants to make films, you often don't think about things like that, but when you're in the seat of a producer, those sometimes are the decisions that really, really help stuff get done.
Mm-hmm. That was a fact.
Especially on, you know, something like your movie on the plane, where it was, or, you know, People Die, and it was very run and gun.
Yeah.
On People Die, we were in the middle of a field in Marseilles, Illinois.
And then it was muddy too, bro. I still
It
got
was
my
so
Vans
muddy.
are jacked up.
Oh, my shoes! You should see the boots
they're
I was
done.
wearing. They still have stuff on them.
Yeah.
But, you know, and like, one of the scenes called for a bonfire. So one of our, like, crew members just started, like, roasting fruits and vegetables on the bonfire. So he was like, oh, you should try this. And we had, like, a little cabin where we had, like, roast beef and sandwiches and all that stuff in there. But it kind of gave the actors a little spot to chill and hang out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The whole weekend we shot, it was just like we were hanging out. Like, we actually just went camping.
That's the beauty.
We just went home every night.
That is the beauty of it.
Yeah, the mud on your shoes brings me, I think it's a good point, that brings me to a question. I feel like, particularly when it comes to producing, but especially as a director too, one of the big things when it comes to these ultra low budget things is trying to think of all the little unexpected things, right? Like, you got to be able to anticipate that there's going to be mud on the ground. You got to be able to anticipate that your actors are going to need water. Are there any instances like that either of you can think of from stuff you've worked on where it was something you either didn't think of or somehow thought of that helped or hurt a film that you worked on?
I have one big one, but Nicole, if you got one.
My car got stuck in the mud on that shoot.
Oh, yeah, that's where the mud came from. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
I remember the shirts, because especially for her shoot in particular, because we needed multiple shirts because of like the like cuts and the gashes and stuff like that, and it was making sure that there was double of the shirts because when you're filming multiple days and you come back, it's a continuity thing right there, right? If someone's got a huge slash right here, and then the next day, it's like that shirt didn't get cleaned, or you have another shirt but it's not in the right place. It's like that's one thing that you need to make sure of. For me, it was the door of the plane. I don't know if you remember that, Nicole. We weren't able to shut the door of the plane for ventilation purposes, and because that's where the staircase was.
Also,
so
we weren't, like, you couldn't totally shoot, if you were filming someone, you couldn't really shoot out the window. We're on the ground.
That too. Exactly, because we're on the ground. We didn't have enough budget to get it up there, we couldn't access So when it came to that, it's like, specifically because we have one right there, filming towards the cockpit, that was kind of in the way, so we had to film it in a weird position so that like the light that was bursting in at like 2 p.m. it wasn't like completely obstructive, so we had to like pretty much do one of those things, go to the crafty table, take the tablecloth, remember that we had like everyone else who was an extra try to like cover that up, and still there's gonna have to be some masking on that, but yeah, it's weird things like that, trying to run and gun it. But going back to the Seed and Spark side of things, that's what's so cool about it. Like this discussion right here, a lot of people who are making films, it's good to know that, to be on other sets. Being on other sets is when you learn the most. But for the people who you want to reach out to, the audience, they want to feel like they're a part of the movie. They want to know, why should I pay for it, not just wait till the finished product is done, right? So Seed and Spark providing that thing where it tells you, this is where the food is going, right? I just compare it to Patreon. Patrons want to know, all right, well, what are you using this money for, though?
Right.
You know what I mean? So you tell them it's for equipment. You tell them what you're providing for them. It's a completely different avenue, and I think Seed and Spark does that great, and that's what she's using it again.
And then they have updates too. There's a whole update thing. You can follow the movies. You don't necessarily have to contribute. They call them. It has to be call them contributions because they're not donations. You as the filmmaker can upload photos, videos, just text, however frequently you want, to keep people in the loop and be like, hey, here's, like, we're actually using your money. And we're also, especially in this movie's case, I'm doing all this pre-production and getting ready to shoot before we're even crowdfunding. We're not going to, the crowdfunding probably won't end until a couple days before we're set to shoot.
Right.
They feel like they're a part of it.
That transparency is another element to it now that makes it more fun to support these movies.
And they're supporting you. They like you.
Yeah. If you can manage to show that you'll be engaging, that you'll be transparent, that you'll bring people along on that journey, that's another point that you can sell.
Exactly. We also have some incentives, so that's cool too. You get stuff.
Do you want to talk about that at all before we move on to our final segment?
They're not set in stone yet because I do have to hear back from Seed and Spark. But they I believe they range from like $10 to $1,000 or something like that, depending on how much you want to contribute. It goes from, a copy of the movie to, a day on set.
If you're close.
If you're close, yeah, that's it.
Right.
That's a good point. But I'm also doing like a director vlog the entire time. So if you contribute a certain amount, you'll get that kind of behind the scenes element to it.
Nice.
In addition to that, we're also doing a separate behind the scenes. So there's even more of that. It's all about that transparency and that connection.
Yeah. So to follow Nicole along with her film, make sure to check out the links down below. We'll leave links down there so you can check out her movie as it gets into production and hopefully donate or contribute a little bit through Seed and Spark. We are going to move on to our final segment of the week. It's the new to see, where we talk about what's new in theaters to streaming and on VOD. Starting with August 24th, Happy Time Murders is in theaters. This is the R-rated Muppet movie with Melissa McCarthy. AXL, I haven't even heard of this one, but apparently it's coming out.
Bro, I thought that was Alpha.
Is it called Alpha? No.
Alpha's another movie with a dog.
Yeah. So this is just like Dog Month at the theaters.
Yes.
And on VOD because Isle of Dogs came out. And then the one that Art's very excited for on August 24th. It's Searching, finally out everywhere.
Oh, limited. I hear.
Is it limited?
Yeah, they pushed it back 31st everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. So, might have to wait a little bit longer. I'm gonna see it on the 24th.
Yeah, boy.
Also out in limited release on that weekend, Papillon, I think it's pronounced. It's a remake of the 1973 movie with Dustin Hoffman. This one stars Rami Malek and Charlie Hunnam. Support the Girls from director Andrew Bialski with Regina Hall and Haley Lou Richardson.
Yeah,
I
boy.
you saw this one, right?
I saw Haley Lou Richardson.
There's also The Replicas, The Bookshop, Beautifully Broken, John McEnroe, In the Realm of Perfection, and an LA Minute, all in limited release this weekend. New to streaming on Netflix, August 21st, Year One. I believe that's the Jack Black, Michael Cera comedy. August 23rd, Great News, Season 1. This is a show co-created by Tina Fey, so if you enjoy her rapid pace punchline humor, it's a fun watch on Netflix. August 24th, After Party and Ghoul. August 28th, The Good Place, Season 2. Probably my favorite show on network TV right now.
People
it
keep
is
hyping it.
So good. I know Bailey from Breaking Banter just got on the train. You gotta watch that show on Netflix.
Yeah,
First season's
everyone
already
keeps
up.
hyping it. Yeah.
And then on August 29th, Inequality for All. HBO Now, like I mentioned, Insecure is back, but on August 25th, they're uploading the movies Drew Michael and Father Figures. Art, did you see Father Figures, or did you let that one slide?
Is that the one with Owen Wilson?
Yeah.
Trash! That's trash.
And then on Amazon, August 25th, a couple movies from earlier this year, Disobedience, The Escape of Prisoner 614, and Woman Walks Ahead with Jessica Chastain. Disobedience is my favorite of those. It's one of my movies I really enjoyed this year. I thought Rachel Weisz is excellent in it. Rachel McAdams is excellent in it. So I highly recommend you check that one out. And then on August 26th, Mother is going to be available on Amazon Prime as well as on Hulu, the Jennifer Lawrence Darren Aronofsky movie. On August 23rd on Hulu, Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Then on August 24th, Crime and Punishment, an original Hulu documentary.
Bro, that's good.
Then, yeah, you've seen it?
Yeah, I got a screener of it. It's pretty good.
Nice. So August 24th on Hulu. And then on August 26th, Gangs of New York, the Martin Scorsese classic with Daniel Day-Lewis and Leonardo DiCaprio. Not one of my favorite Scorsese movies, but worth a watch. New to VOD, a lot of movies coming out on August 21st. Deadpool 2, Show Dogs, Something, The Ninth Passenger, First Reformed, Watch the Sky, God's Not Dead, A Light in the Darkness, I Can, I Will, I Did, Action Point, and Dead Love. Then on August 24th, Blue Iguana, Summer of '84, I Am Vengeance, What Keeps You Alive, and Arizona. A lot of movies to catch up on, a lot of movies out there. Art, let us know, what is your pick of the week?
Bro, y'all already know my pick for the week. It's going to be this week and it's going to be next week because y'all need to know, you need to support it. If you're going to the theaters, watch Searching. I believe it is coming out in New York, LA, probably Austin. It's not as limited as other ones like 8th Grade was.
It's not super limited.
I don't think it's super limited, which is why it's super confusing, but I know it goes wide next week. Searching, I'm going to mention it this week. Spoiler alert, going to mention it next week as well. So obviously, if you're going to theaters, save up your money for that. Check into MoviePass right now. Hopefully, you can get a ticket for it. Or just support it with your own money, because so far, this is my favorite of the year. My Brigsby Bear of this year. If you're staying at home, this isn't a new one, but I just caught it because since I'm going to go on my trip, I've been trying to make a bunch of Let Me Explains and videos, and one of my highly requested LME ones has been this movie called Train to Busan, which has been on my list for a bit, and I know it was on Netflix, and I checked it. Boy!
It's a Korean zombie movie?
I should have seen this in theaters. Train to Busan is legit. Korean zombie movie that takes place on the Train to Busan. There's a prequel, an animated prequel that's already out.
Oh.
They just greenlit the sequel, which is supposed to be like all of Busan gets taken. I don't know what it is, but that's been greenlit. There's a remake that they're working on called Night to Busan. I don't care about that one, but Train to Busan is on Netflix right now. You can check it out. It is fantastic. So those are my picks. Searching in theaters, Train to Busan if you're at home.
That one, Train to Busan, is definitely on my list. I've heard a lot of good hype about it, though I haven't seen it yet. Nicole, what do you recommend people at home watch?
Well, it's not a new one, but I do believe it is fairly new still. I believe Art of talked to you about this. It is The Ritual on Netflix.
Ah.
Yeah.
It's, I believe it's a Netflix original. It's got the bad guy from Jurassic World in it. And
that's right. Yeah, it does.
I thought the cinematography was great. Especially at the end, there are some plot points that don't really land. It kind of ends in the same way that every Netflix original movie does. It's a little cheesy, and things just kind of fall into place so conveniently. Yeah. But I would say that the cinematography
is beautiful.
Is like a more independent A24. How they do horror.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to pitch it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Very interesting. Cool. So, horror movie out there on Netflix for the horror fans. The Ritual. Check that one out.
Yeah. Other than that, Happy Time Murders.
You excited for that one?
Oh yeah, that's exactly my sense of humor. That's great.
I literally have a screening for Searching August 23rd, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving that weekend, so I'm catching the screening for Searching in order to be able to make my video on it. That means I have to stay up late to watch that the Happy Time Murders at a late showtime. But then I have to rush back home because it's my sister's birthday the 24th. I can't miss that. So I am literally having to stay up till like, I don't know what point, travel I don't know where, just to watch Happy Time Murders, and then have to work on the video before I head on my trip. So I swear to you, this movie better be funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, like, you might just be so stressed that you just hate it.
I hope not.
I hate this movie for just one more thing I have to do, one more thing I have to watch. I think it'll be great.
It looks funny.
It's fine.
It looks funny. Yeah, stream it for me while I'm driving.
As for me, I already mentioned that I really love Disobedience. That's showing up on Amazon Prime. I would catch up with that if you had any interest in the movie. Thought it was a really beautiful story of like finding yourself and being like realizing who you are. I thought it was really well done. Also, I realized I hadn't actually recommended 8th Grade yet. Just talked about how much I loved it, but I am recommending 8th Grade. It's expanded to a lot of theaters. Hopefully, it's in your area by now. Check again if you checked earlier. It's one of my favorites of the year. I think it's so acutely observed, so specific in its details of childhood and anxiety and growing up. The way that it depicts Kayla's story, I found to be really, really resonant and just in line with my experience of not knowing what I'm doing as a teenager trying to become an adult. I love the movie. I think it's hilarious. It's also dramatic. And I think it's something that'll work for all ages. If you're young, you'll appreciate it from the perspective of school. If you're somewhere in between, you'll be able to look back nostalgically. If you're a little bit older, you can see it from the parents' perspective. I think there's a lot of great stuff in there. I highly recommend 8th Grade. But that's all for this week's show. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. Let the people know where they can find more from you online.
From me? Well, on Twitter, it's at Bauer_media. Bauer's B-A-U-E-R. I'm mostly on Twitter. My name is the same on Instagram. And then just forget Facebook. 8th Grade is also though, as well. I agree. Thank you for
also
asking me to come on here.
For sure. You could also follow her on As We Go. She's been updating a bunch of the stuff there. It's going to be things there. So when it comes to if you want to support the film, literally just $1 helps, if anything, and it allows you to keep up. If you want to donate more, most definitely. As We Go, I know the Twitter's up, the Facebook is up, and through those outlets, you'll be able to see.
Seed Spark is incoming.
Exactly. So if you're following those, you'll be able to see when the Seed and Spark is going to pop up, and you can support the film there.
I have links in my Twitter bio that links you to the page.
And even just sharing it. just watching it along for when the movie comes out. Any promotion's good promotion. But no, thank you, Nicole, for being on. I think it's always an interesting discussion, especially for us. We're always in that community of like commentary, reviewing movies. But when you actually get to the process of creating movies, and you get to the whole like filmmaking, the production, and the post, you get a different value for movies. Because then you go and you watch a movie and you go, how did they do that? How did they not go insane? It's a miracle if a movie just gets made with all the different factors. But definitely check that out as we go as the movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you can find the link to Nicole's film as well as her other information down in the description below. You can also catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter at @ZShevich or on Instagram also at @ZShevich. And if you have time, I'd really appreciate if you could check out these new videos I made with the singer Margot and her band. We shot some live takes of her songs in this beautiful studio in the Bronx. Ended up being down the street from James Franco filming The Deuce Season 2. But Margot is someone I've made a couple videos with now. We got to play around and try a couple different styles. For one of her songs, Vanilla Boy, we did it as a over 4-minute long take with no cuts. So that was a fun challenge. It'd mean a lot to me if some of y'all went over there and maybe left a comment, left a thumbs up. I'll leave a link down below as well. So thanks for checking those out.
Just say, checking in, inner cutie. Just hyphen inner cutie.
Just an inner cutie saying hi.
Just inner cutie. Just so we know where you're coming from.
Art, where can people find more from you?
You can find me at The A to Z Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Instagram and Twitter in particular because I'm about to go on this road trip. Finally, I do not want to look at a screen for a week after all of the damn editing I've been doing this week. I am sick and tired. I have been binging 5 movies a day just to be able to make some of these videos. Half of them have been horror, so I'm just completely done with it. But I'm going to be on a road trip, probably an entire week. I'm going to try to not post just nothing. Nothing.
We'll see if you can get away with it.
Yeah, I highly doubt it. I already know I'm going to be editing. And we're driving there, too, because it's going to be a road trip. But, yeah, I'm going to be on the road, so definitely Twitter and Instagram are the definite places to find me. But, of course, the A to Z Show. I've been working to make sure I have content while I'm away as well. But, of course, what's going to continue even when we're on the road trip is the Intercut Podcast.
Yes, you can listen to every episode of the Intercut Podcast on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on whatever your favorite podcatcher is. I like Overcast. And also, make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but the video feed on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intercutpod, where you can see our bright, smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment throughout the week for you. Find new episodes of Intercut every Thursday.
Oh, switching it up for you.
We're switching it up. We're going to Thursdays. That should make this a little more routine, a little easier. Summer is coming to an end soon, so we want to get back into that regular routine. So make sure to look for us on Thursdays, and maybe we'll get the audio out to you a little bit early some weeks. Also, like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. All of them are at IntercutPod. You'll get updates throughout the week from me, from Art, from Nicole, from all of our guests. I've been retweeting stuff like that, so Twitter's a really good place to keep an eye on Intercut stuff. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, it's not like in the movies. It's better because it's real.
Yep, that's what Zach tells me after every Intercut.
That's a quote! It's a quote from the thing you told me to quote.
Hey, if you say so.